All right, welcome to the Crittenden Press's regular COVID-19 Friday afternoon community news conference. Today we have as our panelists Michael Faughn, a public accountant at Williams & Faughn and Associates here in Marion. Many of you may know it as the former accounting office of the late Larry Orr. We also have with us Kara Turley, who is principal at Crittenden County Middle School, and we're going to ask them to talk about the things that they specialize in, and Mr. Faughn is going to try to explain as much as he knows about the new CARES Act, and we'll delve into that in some detail. And then, as most of you know, school has been postponed even longer to the end of the month, or to the beginning of May now. And we're going to be able to talk with Ms. Turley about what we can expect and what she expects of her students. My name's Chris Evans. I'm the editor of the Crittenden Press, and we're hosting this news conference every Friday afternoon while the coronavirus situation exists. I'd also like to tell you that Frazer and Massey law firm, a general practice law firm in Marion, Kentucky, is sponsoring today's news conference, and they specialize in probate, bankruptcy, and real estate. So we're going to begin with Michael Faughn, public accountant at Williams & Faughn Associates here in Marion, Kentucky. Michael, thank you for being here today. And we're going to talk about the $2 trillion CARES Act, the coronavirus relief package. And you are somewhat of a specialist in this, I know now. Have done a great deal of research. And
we've done a lot of research. I want to start by saying this is a evolving bill. There's a lot of facets and specifics to it that are changing on a daily basis. We're doing our best to stay on top of it and keep up to date. The two main things I'd like to talk about today are for individuals, the Irs Stimulus Checks that are supposed to be coming out in the next couple of weeks, and then for small business, the new SBA Paycheck Protection Program loans. So I think we'll start with the Irs Stimulus Checks. I brought some notes, some bullet points to go through. As most everybody's probably seen on the news, within the next 3 weeks, the IRS will be issuing $1,200 stimulus checks per person out to everyone in the country. $2,400 to a married couple.
Now, there's some stipulation on how much money you make. If you make over a certain amount, that'll be reduced.
That's right. It's for taxpayers with adjusted gross income of $75,000 or less for individuals, $150,000 for a married couple.
Okay.
Once you hit those limits, it starts to phase out. Once you hit $99,000 as an individual, $198,000 for a couple, you're completely phased out of your stimulus. Okay. I'll back up, say it's $1,200 per individual. Couple, you also get $500 for any dependent child on your tax return. A lot of questions we get asked: are they going to go off 19? Are they going to go off 18? What information? If you filed your 2019 tax return, the IRS will use that information to base your stimulus check off of. If you have not, they will use 18. If you have in the past used direct deposit with any refund on your tax return, the IRS will send this check directly to your bank account. They're saying within the next 3 weeks.
And I understand that if you are not set up for that, there's some speculation that it could be a couple of months or longer.
That's speculation. The IRS hasn't really issued any guidance on that. You will get a paper check in the mail, and they have said they will send these payments out from now to the end of the year.
Is there any way to expedite that at this point by going and setting up an account to receive? Can you do that, to receive the direct deposit?
According to the IRS, they're supposed to be setting up a web portal on their website, irs.gov, where you can go on and update your bank account information and or address if, like you said, you've got a new account, or if for people who's moved, maybe since they filed their tax return, they can give the IRS that new information. Yes.
Okay. Is that all you have on that particular subject at this time?
Like I said, the payments are expected to be released in the next 3 weeks, but if you don't get yours right off the bat, have patience that they're going to send them out from now to the end of the year. One important thing we've been asked a lot of is for Social Security recipients who don't normally have to file tax returns. you do not have to file a return to receive this stimulus. The IRS will use your Social Security or retirement records to see your income level and send you your checks.
Send it automatically. What if you go? What if, say, I have I'm set up for direct deposit, and I get to June and I've not seen a payment? Is there any? I guess you get on that website and
that's what they're instructed right now, and it says real big when you get on there. Any new information will be updated every day on irs.gov. So. Yeah. Gosh, all of this, from what I understand, is just clogging all the systems, whether it's phone systems, internet, websites, or anything. Is really tough to get through right now. And I'll remind you that it's not tough to get through here in Marion, Kentucky. If you need legal advice, talk to Frazer and Massey. They're on Main Street. Their office is on Main Street. Now the front door may be locked, but you can call ahead and they will see you in person if necessary. Otherwise, talk to you on the phone. We're going to visit now with Kara Turley. Kara is the principal at Crittenden County Middle School. Ms. Turley, this has been certainly, uncharted territory in our generation anyway. And tell us, now that school, we know we're not going back till early May at best. How are you dealing with this rollout of more NTI days, which is the non-traditional instruction days, the distance learning as they call it, and what you expect out of these students? I know one middle school student, mine, who is very, very, very in tune with what she needs to get done.
Yes. Well, the way that we are just making sure that we're staying connected with our students, and the strategy that we're using to roll out our lessons is just through communication. That's something that's always been important to us, and even more so now. Our Care Connect teachers are communicating with their students and the parents of those students to find out if students are going to complete their lessons in a digital format with their Chromebook, or if they're going to do a traditional paper pencil format. If students are doing their lessons with the Chromebook, then they can just, take those daily as they're posted by the teachers, and we're staying in close contact with our parents. Mm-hmm. We have parents that are coming to our offices and making appointments to pick up the paper lessons, and then we have some students with families and situations where they can't get out, and we are able to deliver lessons to them.
And these students who maybe, and I have a son that's maybe not quite as studious as his sister, and we really have to stay on him about getting his work done. So what are you doing to make sure that these students that maybe are not as inclined to get things done in a timely fashion, what are you doing? Do you get on the phone and call them?
Yes, we do. We are there for our students. Like I said, that's something that was important to us before, and it's even more so now. The teachers are doing a great job with touching base with students and just being aware of their needs and being there for whatever they need. Teachers are setting up Zoom meetings and Google Hangout meetings to help students with content in their own class, and then lessons that they may need help with in other classes. I know we shared on our district Facebook page that our Green River Educational Co-op is offering free tutoring. So there's a form there on our Facebook that you can sign up, and students can be tutored by a retired teacher, someone who is an education consultant, through digital means or through the phone, and they can get help with a specific lesson that they're working on. And we're really excited. That's a great resource.
Let's kind of jump ahead, if you will, and talk hypothetically. The governor this week has even hinted at the fact that the next stop for schools is summer break, and so in Crittenden County, where we're at right now, we're talking only 12 educational days that would remain on the calendar if we go back when they speculate now. So, what happens if they say that's it? We're not going to go back to the classroom. I know you all, the leaders of the school district, are talking about this and discussing these things like graduation and eighth grade promotion. I know they won't call it graduation, but and just all these other things, the backyard, and just so many things. Tell us what are the plans?
Well,
what are the options, I guess?
We're currently planning for two possibilities. The first possibility, like you mentioned, is that we are able to go back to school on May 4th and finish our classes in person. and have the ceremonies and the trips and the fun things that we do for the kids at the end of the year as we scheduled them earlier this semester. The other possibility that we have to be thinking about and planning for is that we don't go back, and that if March 16th was our last day of traditional school, so what is that going to look like? We will still continue our instruction through the end of the year, through the digital means and the paper means. That will probably be, more review type lessons. That will probably look a little different as we get closer to the end of the year.
So no final exams.
Well, that's school specific and teacher specific.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to speak to that for everybody.
Okay.
And then
So they can do that. You can put these final exams on the Chromebooks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, we have lots of different means for assessing.
that. Okay.
Yeah, our teachers are really creative and really good about using a variety of different things to meet the needs of students and to assess.
Someone just asked about spring pictures.
Spring pictures. We don't have information on that right now
Yeah.
from Live Touch, but that's something that we can look into and we can share out. That's a good
Now,
question.
Every kid in the school district, almost down to what I think third grade, has a Chromebook with them, and those things are fairly expensive little devices, and they're probably carrying some textbooks. Don't know if they took them home, but they're in lockers. And what about those Chromebooks, textbooks, the stuff still in their lockers? Because when they walked away, 3 weeks ago,
that's a conversation that we've had, because it is really sad to walk into our school right now. We kind of made the sad joke that it looks kind of like Chernobyl. When the students left, they didn't know that they wouldn't be coming back, and so there are piles of binders and hoodies and AirPods and things on tables and in lockers. So we've talked about bagging up the materials that belong to the students, the items in their lockers, and writing their name on the bag, and then closer to the end of the year having some sort of a system where we trade off, where the parents, and we'll have to stagger it, we'll have to set some dates for 6th grade and some dates for 7th grade and 8th grade so that we don't have crowds there, obviously. But parents will be able to come and trade. They'll turn in paper pencil work, they'll give us the Chromebook, and we'll let them have the stuff from the lockers and yearbooks and spring pictures if we have those.
is that like a quid pro quo? That's a bad word now, isn't it? Though? Okay.
Not gonna go there.
I'll remind you again, today's news conference is brought to you by Frazer and Massey Law Firm in Marion, Kentucky. They provide legal services in many areas, including real estate, probate, personal injury, civil litigation, wills, trusts, family law, adoptions, criminal defense, and bankruptcy. If you need legal advice, if you need to talk to an attorney, call Frazer and Massey Law Firm. And if you need accounting, if you have accounting questions and you need to know about this stimulus package, Michael Faughn with Williams & Faughn Associates is our professional here today, and he is going to tell us how, if you're a small business or a larger business, I guess, because there's a lot of money for in this CARES package. I think $560 billion for individuals, $500 billion for big corporations, and $377 billion for small business. And that's B as in billion, but that's not going to go very far, is it, Michael Faughn?
It's big bucks, but like you said, it's spread out for every business across the country. So we're encouraging everybody to, on some of these packages and programs that are in place, to get out there and get in line as quick as you can to help be sure that you're eligible for what's due to you. The big program I want to talk about is the new Paycheck Protection Program loans that are being offered through the SBA. Like you said, Chris, the government has authorized up to $350 billion in forgivable loans for small business. Available to any small business that's less than 500 employees. That includes nonprofits, sole proprietors, self-employed individuals, and independent contractors. Your loan amount is based off of your average monthly payroll cost. That includes gross wages, employee benefits. Take that average monthly cost times 2.5, and that's going to be roughly your loan amount that you'll apply for. Where this gets really good is after you receive your loan, 8 weeks later, you can apply for forgiveness on that loan for anything that you spent for payroll, interest, rent, utilities.
And if you keep, say, a balance, say if you keep part of what you've applied for,
After you apply for forgiveness, if your full loan is not forgiven, the remaining balance will be due back to the bank within 2 years, and it'll be at an interest rate of 1%.
2 years at 1%. Okay, I've heard some other numbers on that floating around. Yeah.
This is one of those things that's changing every day. Yes, they said 0.5% when they first started. They come out last night and said it's going to be 1%. The application actually changed last night.
Yeah, I filled it out about dark, and by the time I got up this morning, it had changed, and I had to redo it. So
you apply for these loans at any SBA approved lender. So your local bank, as long as they're an SBA lender, can process this application for you. For a small business, they started processing them today. They're going to process them through June 30th. For self-employed folks or independent contractors, there will be being processed next Friday the 10th.
And to fill out this application, it is a pretty simple application, but you're going to need some documentation. You're going to need your tax returns, your 940s or 940, all of your forms that you use as a business to report to the government, and then your information, retirement, and the amount you pay toward any health care cost for your employees, right?
That's right. It's because it's, like I said, it's based off payroll costs. So you're going to need your W-3s, W-2s, 941 payroll reports to document the amounts that you paid in wages and payroll costs, and then employee benefits. So that goes in with the retirement, health insurance, and things you mentioned. Mm-hmm. So yes, when you apply on this form and list your average monthly cost, you're going to have to document how you come up with that number.
Mm-hmm. It's a fairly simple application, but it is going to take a little time to gather all this stuff up. So
getting everything prepared is the time-consuming part. Yes, the application's only 2 pages.
Mm-hmm. I'll remind you that today's news conference is brought to you by Frazer and Massey law firm. No fee for initial consultation for bankruptcy cases. That's Frazer and Massey law firm on Main Street in Marion, Kentucky. Kara Turley, the principal of the middle school, and we've talked a bit ago about what it might look like if we don't go back to school, what it's going to look like over the next 3 weeks while we're still using the non-traditional instruction days. But something that's a little beyond that, outside the classroom and outside of the academic part, is the food program, Kara, and that's a very important program in this community. I know about 40% of the students is what Mr. Clark tells me that's taking advantage of that. Tell us what's going to happen. I know there's spring break is next week, or what would have been spring break, so there is no feeding program during that. So then what happens when they come back?
So next week is our spring break, so no one will be preparing meals or delivering meals next week. What we've been doing is half the route is being delivered on Thursday, and then the other half of the route is being delivered Monday, Tuesday. So the routes will be the same, Monday, Tuesday. It's just changing over from what was normally the Thursday, Friday deliveries. Now that will be a Monday, Tuesday delivery. So half the route, those people will receive a week's worth of food on Monday, and then the other half the route, they'll get a week's worth of food on Tuesday. And
we don't know, I don't think right now, they're going to have the drive-up meals where you at the elementary school, but we don't know right now what day, right? Is that?
I would have to get back to you on that.
I think the last information I saw, we didn't know yet exactly what day those were going to be available. So we'll stay tuned to the Crittenden Press and the Crittenden Press online, and we'll try to get you updated on that. Okay, some closing comments. We appreciate these two professionals being here today, an accountant and a professional administrator at the school district. Michael, what's the takeaway from this? If you could really drive something home to these small businesses or individuals, what they need to do to make sure that if they want to be part of this assistance, what do they need to do over the next few days?
Well, I want to offer that if this can be of any assistance, please reach out to us. We're glad to help anybody we can. Any information, I think I failed to mention a minute ago, that the application, all the instructions for these forms, for these small business loans, are on treasury.gov. There's a red bar across the top for a paycheck protection loan. Click on it, you can find all the information you need. I would encourage every small business to apply for it. The forgivable loan, in essence, becomes a grant. You get a loan that's going to help you cover your payroll costs, your interest, your rent for the next 2 months while people are struggling during this time. So if you're eligible, get out there and apply for it and get it if you can. And I want to thank you, Chris, for letting me be here today.
Yeah, thank you. We appreciate you being here. And I will tell our viewers today, we've had so many comments, and they're right. We've not, in these interviews, we haven't really practiced very proper protocol. And a lot of times in the studio setting, it's hard to get close together for the camera angle. So today, I don't know if you can tell, right in the center of your screen, Ms. Turley, there we have a plexiglass in between these two to make sure that we don't pass any coronavirus back and forth. So we're taking this very seriously, as everyone is, and if you're not, you should be. And we appreciate the two of you coming in, and we do want to make it as safe as we can while you're in here and giving of your time for your community and sharing your information. And we appreciate Frazer and Massey Law Firm for sponsoring today's news conference. Ms. Turley, what would you say to your student? First of all, let me say this is I keep telling my children journal, because this is something, and I know the school district has stressed that as well, but it's so important because these are times that in many generations, hopefully, God willing, we'll never see this again in ours, but this is something they'll be able to tell their grandchildren about, and to have those kind of details would be important.
Absolutely. We're encouraging our students to journal. I'm encouraging my kids at home to keep a journal. And some days they do it, and some days it's a little bit more begrudgingly. But just like you said, with our age, we're able to think back and know the value that they're going to place on that they'll have as an adult, because it is an interesting time. It's a scary time, and they're a part of that. They're an important part of that, and we want them to record their experience.
And if you're not a writer, if you're not a journalist, guess what? The Crittenden Press is, and we're journaling every week and every day online for you. So now's a great time to get a subscription to the newspaper, so you'll have this. Again, we write the history of Marion and Crittenden County 1 week at a time, and you can go back to the 1800s. Right here in this office, we have archives back that far, and it's important. So, and we appreciate the support from the community for that. And we'd like to thank our sponsor, Bart Frazer and Roy Massey, Frazer and Massey Law Firm in Marion, Kentucky. And we want to particularly thank our guest today, Michael Faughn, accountant with Williams, Faughn and Associates here in Marion, Kentucky. And as I mentioned, it's there where the former Larry Orr CPA office was at. And Kara Turley, principal of Crittenden County Middle School. Thank you both so much for being here.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.